Whether it is Mamata Banerjee or the BJP, they are all trying to paint their own picture.
Party is largely or has been largely seeking votes in the name of Prime Minister Modi, more so when the party is in opposition because it doesn't have a leader. Normally, PM face should not matter, but PM face carries almost equal weightage. I think 7 to 10% people are going to vote in the name of the Prime Minister.
So joining us right now is Mr. Amitabh Tiwari, also known as Political Baba. He is the founder of VoteVibe. They carry out surveys in all states, whether or not they go to polls, but there is great amount of interest in states that are going to polls, and one such state is West Bengal. Thank you very much, Mr. Tiwari, for joining us on this program.
Thank you.
Now, you've carried out a survey on the 13th of March 2026 to answer the all-important question on West Bengal elections 2026 and what is going to happen. First of all, before we get into the findings of your survey, would you also agree, like many others who have not been to Bengal but are observing here from the national capital and the rest of the country, that that flavor that we saw the last time in a West Bengal election is really missing?
Yeah, largely it is missing because of the SIR exercise. Because the entire voting population, in a sense, has been busy getting their names verified or uploaded on the ECI website in the final rolls, which was, or the draft rolls, which were published on Feb 28. And since the role of BLAs also is very important in this SIR exercise, BLAs of different parties, the party workers have also largely been utilized or have been spending their time in ensuring that their supporters' names remain on the list. If they do not remain, then they help them to be on the list. If their names are on the logical discrepancy, then help them to be in the sunwais which are taking place or the hearings which are taking place. So I think the entire ecosystem, the party cadre leaders of both the opposition and the ruling party, I have largely been busy in this exercise because this is the only state where the SIR has not been completed. Otherwise, in all states, be it of BJP or opposition ruled states, the SIR exercise has been completed. It is the only state where it has not been. It is facing bottlenecks and the ECI is not been able to complete for whatever reasons. So I think this is the reason why the real campaign, as you say, or the mahol which we saw in the last elections, which started probably 3-4 months ago with Prime Minister's campaign and an equivocal opposite campaign by Mamata, is still not being seen on the ground.
So SIR is the reason, and we see that, whether it is Mamata Banerjee or the BJP, they are all trying to paint their own picture, where Mamata Banerjee has been very, very vocal in her criticism of the manner in which the SIR exercise has taken place. Let's now straight away deep dive into your survey and what your survey has to say and whether SIR is going to have an impact on the election results or not. Question number 1, let's quickly put that on the screen. How would you rate the overall performance of the current state government in the past 5 years? Now, this is interesting because after decades of incumbency, one usually thinks that there will be anti-incumbency and a strong anti-incumbency at that. However, your own survey feels that 34.8% of Bengal is happy with the performance of the state government only in the past 5 years. I'm not even talking about 2011 to now.
Yeah. So essentially, if we see almost 44% positive ratings is there for the government for the work they have done, and 31% people are not satisfied with the work of the government. So a lead of, you can say, around a 13%. And then there's this average or neutral voter, which is around 15%. So whichever way this neutral tilts to will give an edge to either the incumbent or the opposition party. Now, this is a very interesting trend, and I was discussing some on other channel also as to the southern states, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and even Karnataka, Andhra to some extent, or rather, even if we exclude Andhra, these three states have a pattern of alternate governments every 5 years, though broken once by Jayalalitha and Vijayan in 2016 and 21. But the eastern states, Bihar, Bengal, Odisha, all these states, even Jharkhand now has had a repeat of government, all these states have shown pro incumbency sentiment. And for a long period of time, even before Mamata, the left was in power for 34 years in this state. So maybe this is linked to the economic status of the voters or the people residing in these states. Because the per capita income of these states is low, the dependency on governments is more. In the southern states, the per capita income is high, dependency is low. So the beneficiaries to remain within the beneficiary bracket or bucket for the fear of loss of welfare if some new entity or party comes in generally tend to be satisfied or give at least the response that they are satisfied in whenever we ask these sort of questions in Eastern India particularly.
Very interesting. So East India, at least in terms of its choice on incumbents, is very clear till such time that it decides to change, and that change is also it swings. Like for instance, the shift from the left to Mamata Banerjee was a historic change after 3 long decades.
Yeah,
so
from
whether
Lalu,
this is
15 to 25 years or 15 to 20 years from Lalu to Nitish in that sense.
Exactly. And now in a very strange way from Nitish to the BJP, also happening after a very long time. Let's now move to question number 2 of this survey. So question 1 tells you that Mamata leads, but obviously she'll have to be careful about the neutrals. Where will they go? The second question is, who do you wish to see as the next Chief Minister of Bengal? 41.6% of West Bengal feels that they only want to see Mamata Banerjee. Suvendu Adhikari, the face of the BJP, you see BJP does not have any one big face. So they've had many faces, but Suvendu Adhikari, a trusted lieutenant once of Mamata Banerjee only, is a distant second at 18.9%, Shamik Bhattacharya at 15%, others at 9.8%, and then you go into trickling single digits. What does this mean, Mr. Amitabh Tiwari?
So essentially, first of all, whenever this question is asked to voters, the incumbent chief minister of whichever state gets on an average 3 to 5 percentage points higher because of the top of the mind recall, because in all ads everywhere the photo of the chief minister is there, and especially so when the opposition has not announced a CM face. Because if you see the BJP's CM preference choices is fragmented amongst 3 claimants: Suvendu Adhikari, Samik Bhattacharya, which is the new president, and Dilip Ghosh, the ex-president. Secondly, this is not the only voting consideration of people. So all the voters are not going to vote either on the government performance sentiment or on the preference for chief minister. Largely, I think in Bengal, in round 1, we had asked this question as to what is the main voting consideration, and CM face, I do not recall it clearly, but should be between 12 to 15% perhaps. So this question is relevant first for a lower number of people because there are other factors also on which people vote: PM face, CM face, government performance, beneficiary status, narratives, caste, religion, candidate, party symbol. And anyways, the incumbent gets 3 to 5 percentage points higher in such a situation. Despite that, what we have to see is that despite 15 years of being in power, since there is no other charismatic leader from any party has emerged to be the you can say the natural claimant to the top chair in West Bengal. Even BJP is not very sure whether it should go with Suvendu or it should go with Samik or somebody else. So in that way, she has retained the popularity amongst her core support base also.
When you were asking this question, did you feel that for the BJP, it's actually a little unfair to have this comparison for the Bharatiya Janata Party, knowing very well that their face only and only is Narendra Modi, and he can't be the Chief Minister of Bengal. So any choice that you will present from the BJP will receive a lower than average or a lower percentage compared to a Mamata Banerjee. Even in the campaign, if you recall, in 2016, in 2021, it was the faces of these leaders, Mamata Banerjee for her party and Narendra Modi for his party, which has been the case in the BJP election after election. So that puts many BJP names from that state at an inherent disadvantage. They don't matter, actually.
They don't matter in a way because the party is largely or has been largely seeking votes in the name of Prime Minister Modi, more so when the party is in opposition because it doesn't have a leader or the leadership is fragmented or it does not want to create discord or discontent before the election is held. So the aspect which you are mentioning gets reflected in the what will be your main voting consideration question. So there, normally PM face should not matter, but PM face carries almost equal weightage. I think 7 to 10% people are going to vote in the name of the Prime Minister. And then there is both Rahul or Modi, not only BJP's Prime Minister, but the opposition Prime Ministerial face. So that gets captured there. Here, when we ask people who do you want to see as CM of Bengal, people, though are voting in the name of Modi, let's say for BJP, a certain section, they have in the mind that he is not going to be the chief minister. So essentially, from among the lot which is present as leadership, who is better suited to take on Mamata or who should become the chief minister or take on the mantle? So that's what gets reflected in this question largely.
I get it. Let's now move to question number 3, which is equally important. What is the most important issue in West Bengal according to you? Now, I just feel that in most of these surveys, people say something else, whereas the Chunavi or the election issue becomes something else. 36.3% people say that unemployment is the biggest issue. 19.4% people say law and order and women's safety is the biggest issue. 13.4% say corruption, 11% say development, 6.5% say price rise, and then it starts tapering towards the end. The top issue remains unemployment at 36.3%, law and order, women's safety, the second most important issue at around 20%, 19.4%, and unemployment and law and corruption at 69.1%. Now, Mr. Tiwari, most of these issues are largely issues from the state government. You see law and order, women's safety, unemployment, corruption. This is not a central subject. So what does this mean?
Yeah, so essentially it's a state election. So people are largely talking about the local issues which are impacting their day-to-day lives. As you mentioned, if you do a survey in any state or across India, largely unemployment will emerge as number one. And that is again because of the big or the large youth population base we have and the lack of job opportunities. However, as you mentioned, this may or may not necessarily translate into lack of support or a vote for the opposition. Why does this happen? Because again, when we mentioned or discussed about what is the main voting consideration, issues is not the only consideration. Issues is one of the considerations. So issues, I think in West Bengal comes to largely 20%. So 20% of the voters are going to vote on issues, not 100%. And out of those 20%, 36% say that unemployment is an issue. Correct. So which brings it down to 7% roughly. Now, so that dilutes the importance of issues in an election. We do in cephalology and in television debates, YouTube channels, we do discuss a lot about issues, but issues is just one of the considerations. Secondly, any issue can have an electoral impact when it is the number one issue for the impacted or the affected. This question does not necessarily mean that unemployment is the number one issue for unemployed. Secondly, it again does not necessarily mean that the people who are pointing out to the fact that unemployment is the biggest issue are going to vote or on the basis of unemployment when they are drawn to the booth on the election.
No, I get it. I think you're making a clear distinction of what is the topmost issue in the minds of the people versus whether this will remain a topmost issue during voting. So that's the distinction that you seem to be making. I get it, because otherwise, how would you explain the BJP harping so much on insider versus outsider, illegal immigration, and a whole host of other things? You see, SIR and vote chori is at 2.9%. Communal polarization, 3.6% important.
Yeah, because largely SIR has been completed. Okay. And the people who have been affected are 58 lakhs who have been deleted. If we assume that they are alive or they have not shifted, and the 60 lakh people who are placed in, let's say, still to be verified in the logical discrepancy list. So for majority of the people, we are already on the voter list. Let's say 10%, I think 8 or 10% is the number in West Bengal. So that will be reflected in one of the questions which we do later. Also, we all have identities. So a person has a gender identity, caste, religion, education, etc., rural, urban, etc. So one of the identities is what drives us to the booth. So I might be a youth, I might be an unemployed youth, but it is the prime ministerial face which is drawing me to the booth. Or it could be the CM face, or it could be the beneficiary status because I'm getting unemployment allowance, let's say, of 1,000 rupees or 15,000 rupees. So that also creates a difference, or that also becomes an important issue.
Right. Very, very significant, because, if you look at this list, one would really wonder that, wow, BJP has no chance. But then, of course, what issues are important versus what issues are important for elections are two totally different things, which Mr. Amitabh Tiwari seems to be pointing out. And that's where your SIR, vote chori, communal polarization, illegal immigration, insider versus outsider, the bottom deck, that is where the bottom deck becomes important. But this also gives you a sense of what is really important versus what is made to look important for elections. That's
the battle of narrative. So the bottom part is the battle of narratives, essentially.
Correct. Bottom part narrative, upper part real issues. But unfortunately, the nature of politics is such that your narrative becomes the main. Let's move to question number 4. How do you rate the narrative on the grounds that there is a setting understanding between Modi and Mamata? Speaking of narratives. So 24.3% people say very true. 17.3% say somewhat true. The 27% people are neutral, neither. 2.5% feel untrue, really untrue, 14.8%, and cannot say 13.7%. Would you help us decode what does this mean, Mr. Amitabh Tiwari?
Yeah.
First of all, where is this coming from, the setting?
Yeah.
Because I feel that they are
this question is from the ground. Because when we have been conducting surveys, a lot of people whom we speak to for qualitative assessment and even on social media have been asking us to put this question in the survey. Because on the ground, there are murmurs, or there is this narrative that the allegations or the ammunition which the BJP has against Abhishek Banerjee is much stronger than what it has against, let's say, a Hemant Soren or an Arvind Kejriwal. That's number one. Number two is the fact that the SIR exercise has been completed across India, including opposition ruled states of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, whereas the CI has not been able to complete it here. So there is actually a narrative on the ground whether the BJP and the TMC allegedly have a tacit understanding to keep the other national party or the main national party, which is the Congress, out. And that's why we thought it's a good idea to put this question. And surprisingly, 41% people are actually believing that this narrative is true.
But you know, Mr. Tiwari, it's so funny because Congress has no base, the left is decimated. In a situation like this, people in Bengal actually feel that there is a tacit understanding to keep a minuscule minority player in the West Bengal elections away.
I would say, yeah, a minuscule player at the state level, but I mean the only alternative at the national level, correct? And so I think that's what people, I mean, some of the people, or at least 40% of the respondents, believe that there is some sort of an understanding or a tacit understanding, whereas 41% people are also not sure. But only 18% are clearly opposing this narrative, correct, or do not believe in this narrative.
Okay, let's move on to question number 5. How do you rate the allegations made by the BJP that Trinamool Congress is facilitating illegal immigration? Well, first of all, if there is illegal immigration, then that falls directly in the domain of the central government because they man the borders, not state police. Number one, correct. That is something that people must know. So this is actually a narrative of the BJP against itself.
Yeah.
However, sorry?
It's a battle of narrative. It's all about narratives largely.
Exactly. So truth is somewhere stuck in the battle of narrative, but be that as it may, do you rate the allegations made by the BJP that TMC is facilitating? Look at the results in front of you. 47.1% of Bengal feels that this is very true or somewhat true. That's a massive figure. 19.2% are they actually feel that this is somewhat untrue, and those who are neutral or cannot say is 33%. But the big figure is 47.1% feeling that Mamata Banerjee or the TMC is facilitating illegal immigration. Now, is this, Mr. Tiwari, perhaps some sort of ground for the BJP to build its political fortunes in West Bengal?
Yeah. So essentially, when 47% people agree to this narrative, which means that the BJP has been successful in seeding this narrative on the ground to a certain extent. Because even if you see in terms of vote shares, if TMC has 47-48% vote share, 52% or 53% vote share in West Bengal is an anti-TMC vote share, which gets distributed largely between BJP and then between smaller parties like Congress Left and the ISF. So from an overall vote share perspective, 53% people who oppose TMC largely seem to be agreeing to this narrative. Correct. And also the success of the BJP in seeding this narrative on the ground to the booth. If you see the caste level or social group profile of this question, what we will see is that it is 50% plus in SCs, including Matua community, which traditionally, at least in the past few elections, has backed the BJP. Then the tribals, again, probably because of the beneficiary status in central government schemes, and the OBCs. Whereas amongst minorities and the upper caste Hindus, the Muslims and the upper caste Hindus, which is the Bhadralok, this narrative is not seeding. So the vote blocks of the particular parties are responding in different ways or respond in different ways to narratives being spread by the incumbent or the opposition.
Okay, let's now move to question number 6 and 7. 6 on your screen right now. How do you see the SIR, or the Special Intensive Revision exercise in Bengal? The all-important question. All important, because this is the only state where it is still yet to be completed. So 37.8% people feel that this is to weed out illegal voters. 28.7% feel that this is a routine exercise to purify the electoral rolls. 12.2% feel it's not required. 11.1% feel this is to manipulate the election results. And 10.2% they say that we cannot say anything. So the overall positive intent of an exercise like special intensive revision to clean the rolls, 37.8% people, and if you include the 28.7% who feel that this is a routine exercise, now this becomes a sizable chunk of people who are okay with the concept of a special intensive revision, and they do not doubt the exercise of SIR. Mr. Tiwari.
Yeah, so again, essentially, because of the polarized environment in most of the states today, created largely by the incumbent and the opposition, and both are parties to it, any question we ask, we have seen this tendency that people tend to align their responses to their political choices. Now, here, if you see, BJP's vote share is 37%, roughly. So 37% people, I mean, on an average, largely are okay with this exercise because they are supporters of BJP. Now you have 47% vote share of TMC. Out of that, majority of the people, barring the 10% who have been deleted, have their names or find their names in the rolls or in the draft rolls which were published on 28th of Feb. So for people who went through this exercise and were successful in getting their names enrolled or verified, majority of them find this as a routine exercise, despite all the upheavals or difficulties which they have faced. But when we align this with the earlier question, that around 8%, I think, is the figure of people who have been removed or are still in the logical discrepancy column. So for 8 to 10% of the people, this is an exercise to manipulate election results because they've been kept out, or despite voting for so many years, they have still been flagged as having a logical discrepancy. So largely, I think this question settles on this basis.
Okay, the final question, because this is a recent poll, so you all know that IPAC, which is the agency that helps the Trinamool Congress conduct its elections and build its election strategy, was raided by the Enforcement Directorate. So a question that was asked in the VoteVibe survey was, who won the perception battle in the ED raids on IPAC? A whopping 36.1% people feel that the Trinamool Congress has won this. 26.3% say we cannot say anything. BJP won the perception battle 20.6, none 9.8, and both 7.1. So, Mr. Tiwari, 36.1% of the people in Bengal feel that Mamata Banerjee and her poll strategy company were targeted by the Enforcement Directorate, and thus they won the narrative war on misusing central agencies. Is that so?
Yeah. So essentially, Mamata Banerjee is, we all know, is a politician who has risen up the ranks as a street fighter. So if you see the difference in approach between a Rahul Gandhi or a Mamata Banerjee with respect to SIR, Rahul Gandhi did a voter Adhikari Yatra. Mamata Banerjee went to the Supreme Court and appeared on behalf of the respondents. That's the difference, correct? Difference in approach. So Mamata is being a street fighter and being a canny politician, being a shrewd politician she is able to seize the narrative. So in this aspect, when there is already a doubt about or a lot of discussion about the fact that the central government agencies like ED or CBI or IT are being used to target the opposition leaders just before elections. Example, Hemant Soren, Arvind Kejriwal, etc. In this environment, when this raid was done, Mamata perhaps saw that if she takes the ED on, she will be able to get the support of the people who feel that the opposition leaders are being unfairly targeted, one. And second, she could also perhaps be able to link it to the sub-regionalism or sub-nationalism or Bengali Asmita pride narrative. So in that, I think the voters clearly are saying that she has succeeded to a large extent.
But don't you think, Mr. Tiwari, this is slightly contradictory? I mean, on one hand, these same people also feel that there is a tacit understanding between the BJP and the TMC. On the other hand, they feel that Mamata Banerjee has been wrongly targeted by central agencies. I mean, how can both be correct?
Yeah. So essentially, I think one of the guru mantras for analyzing any survey is that a survey which does not have contradictions has been made in drawing rooms. Because we are analyzing this survey after this entire survey has been done. When we are asking the question of Modi-Mamata setting to a person, which is, I think, the fourth question, he or she does not know what is the seventh question. We have the benefit of analyzing a survey in totality. The respondent does not. That's why in many occasions, you will see people giving, or we having a feeling at the end of the survey that people have given contradictory responses. But both of them on a standalone basis can still be true. That on one aspect, because of the fact on the allegations of Abhishek Banerjee and the SIR completion, there is a tacit understanding and some people believe it. But for this incident, because people are seeing these questions as well as these incidents as separate, if we give the questionnaire to a person in writing, or if the person knows that there is a set of 7 questions which he or she has to answer, then maybe the responses are different. That we'll have to see, that we'll have to figure out. I mean, that is a valid point in that sense. But because when answering, people do not have the privilege of knowing what the 7th or 6th question is, there, in some cases, there seems to be some contradictions as well, which may arise.
All right. Fascinating discussion as always with you. Let's hope that the poll fever picks up so that we can do much more of this. But thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Amitabh Tiwari. Thank you.